Hi guys! So we have the soap on the rope that I made yesterday in the later afternoon. It was made with some essential oils, more of like a minty fresh type soap. It's got the eucalyptus, rosemary, peppermint, and some lavender. We did the video yesterday, so if anybody missed it, you can definitely just go into the search, click on the search button and just type in my name and it should show up. If not, it's still fairly new, so I'm sure if you scroll down a little bit, you'd be able to find it. So basically I unmolded the soap about a half an hour ago. I tend to I like to cut my soap when it's still a little bit softer to avoid any cracking or breaking. As much as this recipe is, it stays soft for a pretty long time, it does go into a fairly hard bar because of the palm oil. The palm oil is known for making your bars of soap hard. So I like to kind of cut it just under the 24 hours. I sometimes even do it at 13 to 15 hours. So that's something you'll play around with your recipe and you'll know when you can unmold and cut. With these molds here, this is the mold that I used, this green one. The rubber, it's still rubbery, but the corners are very, very tough. Like the corners here are very tough to pull out. So sometimes on the tip, like in the bottom corners there, it can damage the corners of your soap. So that's my only thing, is that I have to be careful when doing that. But because the soap is softer, I can re-sculpt those corners very easily with my hands or with a knife, because they're still soft. So there's kind of that play area. I would love to get those really, really thin silicone type molds. I think that would be awesome to use for, any type of soap that you wanted to use something like that for. So let's cut into this. So the white obviously is titanium dioxide, and the blue is ultramarine blue, an oxide. So basically all what I'll be doing is lining myself up with, I have a little mark on the corner here. You guys won't be able to see right there is a little red Sharpie notch, and I'm basically just lining up my soap to that. I just use a cheese cutter. It's just what I have right now. Would I love to own, a bud cutter? Of course I would, but right now that's what we are working with. So I don't necessarily like to put my soap right on the edge of that because it ends up pushing it, so I leave just a little bit of a gap. Now this does cause your soap to sometimes not be too equal, so if you have to put it all the way up against for now and then just pull away a little bit to make sure that you're even, then that'll, that's fine too. There we go. So because of the ropes, of course, when we did it, I told you that I did the notches on the side of the little wooden container. Of course, when you're putting it in, it's never 100% perfect, so you're still having to play around with it a little bit, but overall, it should be pretty good. So you want to hold tight because the cheese slicer is going to push against the soap. And again, having a soap that's a little bit less hard, a little softer, it helps with that. So we'll do the big reveal. Is everybody ready? Oh, very lovely. So that's what it's going to look like. So let's move along and cut another one. Now with the strings, I'm having to kind of move them out of my way, and so it is a little bit more tedious, I find, because you don't have that block that's gonna stop you from cutting Oh, see, and so the rope kind of came through, so I was cutting through that, so it made a little bit of a line, but it's still good. It's still good. So that's the only thing with doing the soaps in the mold like this, is that they're not individual, right? So you will easily be cutting into things, or just have to work around it, that's all. But they're very lovely. I definitely feel cold looking at them. My nose is almost running. I'm just trying to get a piece of paper towel, wipe my finger on. So this is definitely an easy way to achieve soap on a rope if you don't have, you know, the single cavity molds. It makes for a beautiful little bar, right? It's very, very pretty. And then it lets you achieve some really cool, you know, swirls or whatever you want to do, right? You could still do drop swirls and in the pot swirls and what else? Butterfly swirls. Someone had asked me to do something yesterday. So it lets you achieve some really cool, you know, techniques. Whereas if you're doing it in the single cavities, I mean, you can still do in the pot and, you know, kind of different swirls, but I don't find you achieve so much awesomeness, I guess you want to say. So like I said, you just have to be a little bit careful when you're cutting, not to cut into the rope. And the bars tend to vary slightly when you're doing this, because sometimes you do have to move over a little bit more than expected, but you know, it's not the end of the world. Oh, that's not gonna do. It's very lovely. I'm very impressed, considering that, you know, it's the first time that I do it in the mold like that as a log. It turned out really nice. Getting distracted with my words because I'm concentrating so much. And one more. Fill our rope there, slightly right there. So once I finish, I do tend to clean them up, so I'll show you guys how I do that. I've showed you in other videos before, but you know, some people are just joining the group or haven't seen it, or you know. So this is a beveler. I got this from Etsy. It's from China. Nothing fancy. I think it was about $5. And it's got a little blade right here, and then it's got notches here. So I'm not going to necessarily clean up the surface of the soaps. Like this one I technically would have, but because the rope is right there, I don't want to. So basically we're just going to round off and clean off the corners there. So you're just going to lean the soap against the little groove and very gently just push on it, and it's going to round off your corners like that. Now this isn't mandatory. This is just this is very personal. So if you're wanting to have, you know, some nice clean soaps, then you can do this if you have the time. If you're very, very busy soaper, then you may not want to do this because it is time consuming. Obviously I'm a lot quicker doing it when I'm not talking and trying to show you guys. So I basically just run my fingers along it to smooth out the hard edges, and that's about it. And you have to remember to do all of your corners. I've forgotten at times, but you get better at it. So that's basically the final little soap there with the rope, and all these bits here, you can easily keep them to make like a confetti soap. especially if you're making a lot of one certain kind, then you can definitely have a really nice, you know, if you had more blue in there, you could achieve some really nice techniques in the inside of your soap by keeping all of those little bits and pieces. So that's what it is. That's the end result. You could easily hang it. It fits perfectly in the hand, so it's a good size soap. And yeah, the swirls are awesome. So hopefully some of you guys can achieve the techniques. Where can you get one? You need, oh, the Beveler, Marion? That, if it is that, I got that off of Etsy. So if you just type in like soap beveler, you'll be able to find some people that sell them. Like I said, I got mine from China, so it does take a little while before it comes in, but it's fantastic. I have 2 of them. I forgot that I had ordered one, and I ordered another one, so I have 2. And they're super easy to use, and like I said, there's just that little blade there that you like if you're going to be cleaning the actual front of your soap. Let's say, like even the sides here, I could easily do the sides. So when you take it out of the mold, sometimes it's like it's still sticky, right? So it's not like a flat surface. So to clean off your surface, you're literally just going to slide the soap very gently across that blade, and it's just going to clean up your soap really nicely. So I could actually do that on the sides just to make sure that they're nice and clean. So that's pretty much all there is to it. And again, like I said, you get those little pieces and you can save all of that to put in another type of soap. So that's it, ladies and gentlemen, if there's any gentlemen watching. It's a little bit short of a video today, which is nice. So yeah, like I said, you can watch the video from yesterday when I made the soap. This one is just me cleaning it up. So hopefully you guys enjoyed, and I'll be back sometime next week, early next week, to make the other soap on a rope, which is more of like a ginger cinnamon type blend. So have a good Friday, everybody. Bye. Oh, and you're not going to shut off now.